time for our conversation with another prominent member of that 2001 BYU football team, one of our favorites, Reno Mahe, NFL veteran.
Reno!
All-around good man.
What's up,
on
boys?
the Deseret First Credit Union hotline. Reno, it's good to see your face, man. Seriously, it's been way too long.
It's been a while, guys. Good to see you guys. Been following you guys via social media. It's been great to catch up with you guys.
You are the perfect candidate to help us maintain some type of optimism because you've got a smile that lights up the world. Everyone loves your laugh. Reno, we need this today given the tough news that we've been hearing about potentially no college football over the last 24 hours. How are you processing all of this?
You know, 3 weeks ago, my sorry, did I lose you guys there?
No,
3 weeks ago,
all
right, 3 weeks ago, my son got invited to play on this baseball team. And so we're kind of a baseball family now, which has been scary and weird, but just being out there and kids are playing and you know, families are out and about, and my daughter's actually on the Skyridge Summer League team, and we're out there, but it's all Utah County, right? But if you go about 10 feet north of my house and you're in Salt Lake County, then the virus might get you there. So you got to be a little mindful of sports a little more north of Utah County. So it's all crazy right now, guys. I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you what's going to happen, what's not going to happen, but we're just doing what we're able to do. And my son's playing baseball. My daughter's playing basketball. My mom and dad are still living in Hawaii, and they're happy as all get out. So I'm not going to, there's things I just can't control what I can't control, right? So I can control what's within the four walls of my home, and we're good. My wife still likes me, and
that's good.
That's always good. So, dude, there's just so much to be grateful for, and sometimes I think we forget that.
I can't tell you how much I want a mango otai right now, thinking of your parents.
We go to the Polynesian Cultural Center in December before the bowl game, and we meet your dad. He shows us he's got what, an NFC Championship ring, right? He's got the ring, a thing on. And
how about this?
The otai was
10
amazing.
years ago, I thought I lost it. Come to find out, he jacked it.
That's funny. Yeah. So he was great.
Yeah,
the mango otai was unbelievable. It was so good. So yeah. So we brought you on mainly to talk about the 2001 season because we're doing a show tomorrow, which was awesome. So let's dive into that. So you come back, you're at BYU, you go to Dixie, you lead the country in receiving, you change positions from running back to receiver. And then 2001 happens. We don't know what's going to happen this season. You know, Lavelle Edwards retired. We got this new OC dude, Gary Croton. Brandon Doman started 2 games. And then boom, 12-0 start. What was that like to start that season in that way?
So I think for me, looking back at what happened, I think you can always tell whether you'll have a successful year on 2 things. One, the leadership of your quarterback, and then, you know, your O-line. And so it's so funny. I think it was a couple of days ago, my wife and I went and spoke at a little family fireside for a buddy who was from the 2001 season, Ryan Slater, or Dr. Slater. And we talked about the 01 season and just how nasty our O-linemen. They were just a bunch of jerks. And but they were so good. They were just punks. And that's who you want at your O-line. But then you had a leader like Brandon Doman. And so whenever you have leaders like that at your quarterback position, you know, you saw Taysom Hill with 2016 season. It just makes for a great year, and you're always in games. They'll always protect you as coaches, and it was just something new. You know, you had Gary Croton come in, and just with Mike Borich as the OC, they were just able to throw something new. And I think it was harder for defenses at that time because they didn't know what to really expect. So it was a fun year, man.
So
until we went to Hawaii.
Until you went to Hawaii, or maybe until you had to go to the hospital before the Utah game, Reno. What in the world? So walk us through the story of you having emergency surgery and then somehow coming back to play against Utah.
Can I put my wife on blast first?
Yes, sure.
So I go to pick up my wife that Sunday from the airport, and with a couple husbands who had wives on the volleyball team. And the husbands that I'm there with, they're grabbing their wives' bags, but I'm hurting. Like, I can't even grab her bag. And so she's just kind of like, what a jerk. Like, so we get back to the house. The women's volleyball team had a team deal that night. So my wife leaves me at our apartment. It's just me and her. And I'm just laying there in the tub, and I'm just hurting. And it wasn't until she came back and I was still in the tub that she realized something is not right. So she's like, let's go to the hospital. On the way to the hospital, the car dies. So we're halfway from Orem to Provo, the car dies. And so someone had to come give us a ride to the hospital. That's Sunday night. So long story short, Monday morning, I had a appendectomy done. And then you forget about some of the details, but it was just, like I said, I went and did a little fireside for Dr. Slater, who was a receiver with me at BYU at the time. And was telling my wife how there was blood on the jersey from the stitches opening during the game. And you just forget about things like that. All I knew that week that it was against the Utes and I had to play. And so I got it done Monday. I don't know why I thought this, but Tuesday, Wednesday, I remember thinking to myself that as much as it was hurting, that if I didn't take any pain medicine and I knew I was good with the pain, I could play. Like, that was just my own way of thinking, that I just like, don't take anything after the surgery. If I can deal with it, I'll be able to play. And I remember my parents got ridiculed by the media, and that they were dumb for letting me play, and that even some people were saying I didn't get surgery. Like, that was a funny one. That one was pretty cool. But then I remember sneaking out of the hospital and going down to practice, and I did get in trouble for that. But I just, that time, even spiritually, I remember Brandon Doman giving me a blessing that I felt like gave me that peace I needed, that I would be okay, outside of the stitches ripping and some blood coming out. It was, hey, we won the game.
Yes, that's
so
right.
At the end of the day, that's all that matters, man.
Let's talk about that. So you're 10-0. You're trying to clinch a conference championship, which was probably one of the first goals, right? So you don't just like Willis Reed shows up, makes like 2 shots, and then he has like no influence on that game. Everyone talks about Willis Reed. You had 5 catches for 94 and a touchdown. It wasn't like you were just out there. I want to mention this too, and you'll hear this tomorrow on the show in 01, but David Nixon breaks this down, where you draw a defender on the game-winning score that might have been in position to tackle Luke Staley, right? The attention that you created on the other side of the field, the other side of the formation mattered, right? So what was it like to play in that game? And I guess we can say, your bloody jersey was the original Kurt Schilling bloody sock, but for BYU, right?
There's just there's something about that Ute game, and it's weird for me because I grew up a U fan, right? My older brother played for the U. I hated BYU. I couldn't stand that 96 season. Living in Utah sucked for us. People talk about how, which I would argue that it was probably one of BYU's best teams ever.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's looking back at it, absolutely. But I was someone that would wear my Utah jacket to the BYU football camps. And so
you were that kid.
I was that kid. I could still a punk like that. But when it comes to that rivalry, I was so much on the other side that when my mom made me go to BYU, you almost took the whole other side. Respectfully, though. You know what I mean? Like, I still love the U. Coach Witt, he's someone I still text with. Like, everything that went down with Morgan Scalley, I was hurting for Morgan. I love that dude. And so it was more of a respect for the rivalry. I remember in 98, I called and pranked a bunch of the U players, getting toilet paper sent up to their room and just having like Kafusi, like, dude, was that you that sent toilet paper out to my room? Jason Kafusi. And there's just a respect there, that you know the rivalry so much that you have so much respect for those guys. And that game just has so much energy to it like no other game. And so everything that played into that game and the way they had the lead and the way the game looked out of hand, and then Luke's couple touchdowns there, just every little aspect of that game, the emotions on the sideline. It's just, there's points of that game where when you see the TV part of it and how, the shaking after the touchdown, the cameras and whatnot, for us players, right before the snap or when you're trying to hear the play from Brandon, people don't realize how the focus is so strong, you become deaf. Like, you don't hear nothing. There's nothing, you can't hear nothing outside of breaking from the huddle, going up to your spot, especially for a receiver. You're trained to just watch the ball and not hear any cadence or anything. A lot of times me and Brandon, it was just signals back to each other. But you become so deaf to everything outside, and that's the hardest thing to duplicate after you leave. It's hard to get that kind of focus in anything. I mean, my golf games suck. I love golfing so much, but you can't find that focus anymore. It's so hard to get to where you can tune everything out so much. And that's what you got in something like that game. There's just that energy and and you're standing on the sideline of those games now and you go and watch it. You're part of that noise now. Like, you're screaming and whatnot. And sorry, that's such a long answer, but that's, there's just so much energy in those games.
Oh, great stuff in there. Reno Mahe with us on BYU Sports Nation. Reno, let's finish with this. Clearly, you still have an athlete's mentality and that competitive spirit burning within your soul, especially for the BYU-Utah game. BYU-Utah is roughly 8 weeks away from a scheduled kickoff, but now we're hearing that might not happen. Now, if you're able to put yourself in the shoes of a player now and knowing what's going on with COVID, would you feel comfortable showing up to play that game with or without fans?
Yeah. I don't care if they play that game in my backyard. I'm playing that game. Yes, I would have, obviously, right? If you look at my record as far as that game goes, yeah, I could care less. As a football player, I'm playing that game. That's the mentality us football players had in those days, right? And so, but at the end of the day, I'm not a doctor. I'm not these kids' parents. There's a lot people have to weigh, and I'd leave it to the experts and whatever, whoever they're listening to. And so, but for me, in my house, my kids are out there playing baseball. My daughter's playing basketball. She can, everyone's has their own agency and their own choices to make. And so I hope they play, all because I love the game. I love that rivalry. And so I hope they play the game regardless.
Reno, so great to catch up with you, man. And I meant it when I said it's been too long, brother. So I hope we get to see you in person soon. We love you and your family and wish you all the best and continued health, man. Let's talk again soon.
Thanks, gents. Have a good day.
You got it. Reno Mahe on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Deseret First, you know why, we show how.
That's